This video is brought to you by John Robson Guitar Tuition. If you enjoy the content, please consider supporting the channel by enrolling on a course, purchasing some guitar lessons or a t-shirt, or you can join my Patreon. Now, on with the show. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. It's all about this guitar again today. This, if you've already seen the two videos I've done concerning this one so far, you will already know that it is a Gibson Les Paul tribute. It is basically the bottom of the range, the cheapest, the entry level, made in the USA Gibson Les Paul. Essentially, you get to the top of the Epiphone tree, and this is where the Gibson brand takes over with this model. I'll tell you all about what it's like to play and what it's like to own, and all the usual kind of facts and figures and good stuff that I do in these videos right after we've heard how it sounds in a mix. And as usual, there's a full tab for that piece of music in both Guitar Pro and PDF formats, along with a clip of me playing it and a jam track for you to play along with for yourself. All of that is up on my Patreon page. There's the address, and the link is, of course, in the description. It's only $3 or £2.50 a month, and you get access to all of these bits and pieces that go out with these YouTube videos. I usually put, kind of 2 or 3 things up a week or thereabouts. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's only a couple of things. But, I post on a regular basis, and as I say, tabs, jam tracks, etc., etc., all up there for what did I say, £2.50, $3 a month. A massive heartfelt thank you to everybody who supports me in that or any of the other ways, all of which are linked downstairs in the description. So, let's get into the nitty-gritty of this guitar then. What's it like, and what is it? Well, I'll put a link to the full spec down in the description as well, but if you just want the headline figures, you've got a chambered mahogany body, ultra modern weight relief with a maple top. This one has it's usually a plain kind of top on this guitar, but this one has, in the right kind of light, a little bit of figuring, but that's just going to be the look of the draw, whether you get something that has that kind of look to it or not. and as you can see, no binding on the body or the neck. The neck is the other departure from what you would call the classic Les Paul recipe, in that this is a maple neck, not a mahogany neck, but you get a rosewood fretboard and 22 frets and all of the usual, three-way selector, 2 volumes, 2 tones, and everything that come with a Les Paul. This is the satin iced tea finish, by the way. That is another thing that kind of, price aside, because these are a lot cheaper than a Les Paul standard, but the satin finish was one of the things that made me go, yeah, that was kind of one of the things that fed into the decision to buy the guitar. Anyway, tell you what, as well as the link in the description for the stats, for the spec rather, I'll put some stats up here. There's the neck profile at the 1st and 12th frets. A nice comfortable C-shaped neck, as you can see there, weight of 3.67 kilos and a nut width of 42.2 millimeters. While we're talking about the techie sort of stuff, let's cut to a little bit of B-roll and have a look at the pickup readings. I did these a while ago and I've forgotten what the actual numbers are, but I do remember thinking, as you can probably see now, that they are quite a vintage, kind of mellow output. Nothing here that's going to scare the foxes, basically. And it's a very vintage sounding guitar, this. It's got that sort of classic Les Paul vibe going on, which is exactly what you'd expect it to have, albeit at the brighter end of the spectrum. If I just kind of give you a little bit of a tinkle around now, I'm going into the Positive Grid Spark, as I usually do for these sort of walk-through, talk-through kind of things. There's the amp model I'm using, Fender Twin, basically. It's got a very kind of open, airy sort of sound, good for doing sort of cowboy chord strumming. It's also great for doing, what a lot of people say a Les Paul, a good Les Paul is. It's like a bionic Telecaster, basically. It'll do that sort of middle position Telecaster tone brilliantly well. Excuse me, my fingers got a bit lost there. So it'll do that pretty good. It's also good for doing, the kind of funkier end of things as well. Now, normally if I was going to play something like that, if a part, like on a tune or something that needed that sort of guitar part, I would probably habitually reach for something with, Fender on the headstock or something similar with single coils. But this would handle it perfectly well. If we just go to a little bit of a dirty kind of sound now, this is what I'm using for this, again, into the Spark, the basically this orange model here. It gives a great kind of classic rock, blues rock kind of sound. I do apologise, my fingers are just not wanting to cooperate today, but we all have days like that. So yeah, that's a sound that if you want to do it the old school way and use the pickup selector as your channel switch, it cleans up beautifully. If I just flick to the neck pickup and roll the volume control back to about 3, we get this kind of sound. So more of an edge of breakup sound that, I was playing like a 9th chord there, and it's that's the kind of chord that I find will often sound flabby and indistinct and not particularly good if you've got too much dirt on. So it's not necessarily a clean sound that you'll get that way, but it's a sound that's clean enough for slightly more harmonically complex chords like that. The other thing I'll notice about this guitar is that it is very much like the Yamaha Revstar that I also recently acquired. That's a guitar which is very, very resonant. It's because it's probably got a chambered body, much like this one. You know, when a guitar kind of feels zingy and resonant and alive with every note that you play, some people will say that that translates into the amplified tone of the guitar. Some people will argue the exact opposite. One thing I can tell you is that when a guitar responds like that, it does. Well, it certainly makes me play in a more exuberant, enthusiastic manner, which definitely does affect the amplified tone of the guitar, and it's very much to my liking. The neck, as you saw in those profile pics, let's put them up again. There you go. They're very, very comfortable C-shaped neck. If you're not used to playing a guitar with a nitro finish like this one has, then you might kind of take a little bit of acclimatizing to it. It did feel a little bit, well, to use an expression from this part of the world, clarty, when I first started playing. It basically means sticky, but that kind of soon, kind of smooths out, or not smooth, it gets slicker and more kind of slippery by the day. This is a very, very good guitar for playing all the kind of, let's see, my fingers will cooperate this time, all the kind of, widdly stuff. All that kind of twiddly kind of legato stuff that my fingers seem to want to slip into a lot of the time, more so on this guitar than a lot of others, to be honest with you. It's a ridiculously low action, it's no one could complain that this is a difficult guitar to play. I say ridiculously low action. It's a very comfortable, fast, low action is what I mean. It's it's a I can't imagine anybody would want the action lower than this on this guitar. Very fast neck, very comfortable to play, a lot to like about this guitar. There is, however, one thing I will draw to your attention, and I mentioned this in the first impressions video. There is a noticeable lip, as you can see there, the light catching that between the fretboard and the neck. Okay, the fretboard is ever so slightly narrower than the neck, and you can actually hear this if I do this. You can hear probably my nail catching that lip there. It doesn't affect playability, and some people will say, yes, the fretboard has shrunk. It hasn't, because the fret ends would be sticking out, and they're not. The fret ends on this guitar are absolutely beautifully finished. Not a hint of sharp fret ends at all, which of course you wouldn't expect it to be on a guitar that costs the kind of, Gibson kind of money, basically. So that has been left like that at the factory. Somebody has, at Gibson's factory has thought, yeah, that'll do, that's good enough, send it out the door. And that is a bit of a disappointment, I wouldn't lie to you. You would not, well, not certainly ones that I've seen, get that kind of thing on a Harley Benton. Which brings me to my final point here, do you need to spend the kind of money that one of these guitars costs if you want to get the kind of tones that this guitar will generate? Well, no, you don't, frankly. I did a couple of Epiphone and Gibson comparisons. I did a Gibson Les Paul standard from the 90s compared with that Harley Benton Les Paul copy you can see on the wall behind me there. And, they sounded different, but one didn't sound any better than the other. There is a spectrum of sounds that you would expect to get from, this style of guitar, and both guitars fell squarely within that spectrum of sounds. Likewise, I did a comparison between that Harley Benton and one of the newer inspired by Gibson Epiphones, and that was a blind testing and nobody could tell the difference. So you don't need to spend Gibson money to get a Gibson tone or a Gibson like tone, it has to be said. So why did I buy this guitar then? Well, basically, it's sometimes a guitar is a little bit more than a functioning musical instrument. Sometimes it's just a little reward to yourself, it's a little treat, it's it's something that you treat yourself to, and that's essentially what this guitar is. If you saw the other two videos I've done about this, then it's basically 30 years since I've owned a guitar with that logo on it and that model name on it. So, I thought, yeah, what the hell, why not? And this is the one that I chose. There will be, talking of comparisons, there will be more comparisons coming up featuring this guitar. The first of which I'll be doing in the next week or two between this guitar and the Yamaha Revstar, which is a guitar that I'm really liking a heck of a lot. That's just the entry-level RSE 20, the Element model. But like I said, that's a guitar that is very much like this. It's alive and fizzes with every note, and it'd be interesting to see how this guitar compares to the Yamaha. Be interesting to see which one ends up being the long-term resident here at Robson Towers, because they both can't stay, unfortunately. Then I think I've got a handle on a loan of a Les Paul Standard, the bigger brother to this one, so we'll be doing a comparison between it and this. And I mentioned, that this guitar sort of takes over from you get to the top of the Epiphone tree, and then you're into the Gibson brand, and this is the first rung on that ladder. So I'm going to be doing, hopefully, a comparison between this bottom end of the Gibson range with a guitar that's at the top end of the Epiphone range, which should be interesting to see, how that shapes up. And that's all for the future, but that is pretty much it for today, folks. Hope you found the video informative and useful and hopefully entertaining in some way. And if that's the case, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already done so. And why not give me a like while you're at it? Don't forget, as always, the live stream every Friday, 5 p.m. UK time, where we drink beer and talk music and guitars. A fantastic way to kick off the weekend, and I'd love to see you there if you can make it. But for now, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Look after yourselves, folks. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Bye for now.